to Canada. The centerpiece of today's efforts, the most urgent project that I wanted to talk to you about today, is a new trade agreement with the European Union. European countries are at home to some of the largest and most innovative pharmaceutical players in the world. They have moved aggressively to protect European jobs and to increase their share of the global research pie. If we want to ensure our share of the global research pie and make sure that it doesn't shrink, we have to make sure that we are competitive and that this trade agreement moves forward. Now, what is this trade agreement when it comes to intellectual property protection? And frankly, the three recommendations are quite simple and quite straightforward. Let me try to explain them. The first is the right of appeal, a basic issue of fairness. In any legal decision, both parties should have equal rights to appeal in an unfavorable decision. This is not the case for the pharmaceutical patent community. It is for the generics, but not for patented medicines. And this is simply not fair. The second, patent term restoration, is more an incentive for efficiency rather than being anything else. It simply ensures that if there are government regulatory or clinical processes that take longer than agreed upon, then the patent holder gets credit for the extra delay on the term of the patent. And I don't know if you know that, but of all the OECD countries, only 3 countries does not have patent term restoration: Mexico, New Zealand, and Canada. And then finally, Canada currently has data protection safeguards for 8 years. They moved to that in 2006. But we need to increase this by 2 years to make it 10 years so it's equal to that of Europe. So an incremental change of 2 years to make it 10 years long. Today, just as in 1986, the notion of strengthening IP as a way to drive investment and innovation faces criticisms. But as you can see on the graph, history tells us that it works. Since 1986, our industry has invested more than $20 billion in Canadian research. We have helped grow Canada's research talent pool and infrastructure. We have honored our commitment to Canadians. Remarkably, predictable and old objections have been advanced by those who disagree. Yet history gives us a very good sense of what will actually happen. It has been positive for both health and economic development of our country. Et nous avons besoin de l'aide de tout le monde. Et je ne peux pas insister trop sur ça. I can't underestimate how important it is because we are down into the final stages of discussions. Permit me to frame the challenge developing new medicines and the important role that public policy plays in this when developing these new medicines. Let's for a minute consider the development of life-saving retrovirals for people living with HIV/AIDS, or perhaps something in the research pipeline like treatment for Alzheimer's disease. Typically, in research, the first 5 or 6 years of discovery is spent in the lab and in early trials, where only 1 in 10,000 molecules advances to the next stage. Only 1 in 10,000. The next 6 to 7 years are devoted to clinical trials. Again, only a small percentage moves towards the final completion in the last couple of years for preparation for approvals and manufacturing. So when you think of that addition, the new molecules, the new medicines and vaccines that are launched this year probably got their start before the turn of the century. And frankly, some of them probably started before the internet was discovered because it goes back that long. Now, how much does this cost? It costs well over $1 billion. Billion with a B. And it takes well over 10 to 15 years to bring these products to patients. Now think about it. If you, not the companies, if you were investing $1 billion in high-risk research with only the prospect of payback in a decade or more, wouldn't you be looking for the most attractive markets? Wouldn't you be looking for the most secure place to invest? Like you, companies investing in research, and our global companies could do research anywhere in the world. But these companies must carefully consider the kind of environment we invest in. Is it stable? Is it predictable? Where will the results of their work be safeguarded long enough to recoup our investments. The Government of Canada is in the final stages of negotiations now. I cannot stress how important it is for Canadian health innovation that we get this agreement, CETA, that we get this to the finish line, and that includes measures to strengthen pharmaceutical IP in Canada. Because in Canada, we can't compete against the cost of Indian pharmaceutical research. We cannot dangle the lure of domestic market 10 times the size of ours. But what we can compete on skills, on excellence, and on passion, and the great quality and record of some of our best and most innovative researchers. They require significant budgets. They require the significant commitment and life science investments. Winning increasingly intensive competition for global research dollars requires a Canadian legal and business environment that rewards and defends the resulting innovation. It requires that we pass CETA. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud of the achievements of our industry. The economic and social benefits of health innovation are substantial. Collectively, we employ over 15,000 Canadians, and we support another 45,000 high-skill, high-value jobs in academia in the healthcare sector. We have invested over $20 billion in life science research in Canada since 1987, and we are responsible for health innovation that have helped millions of Canadians live longer, be healthier, and continue to make valuable contributions to their family, to their work, and to their community. And you stop for a minute and you think about it, isn't that what life science research is all about? RX&D member companies invest more than $1 billion a year, every year, in search of miracles for people like Tanis that I mentioned, and for people like you and me. We do this important work through powerful partnerships with universities, hospitals, communities, governments, and employers to keep pushing the bar higher. And that's important. We continually grow. Tanis's clinical trial was the first of its kind in the world, in Canada. She proudly refers to herself as participant number 1. As of this morning, there are almost 10,000 clinical trials underway across Canada. We really are on the front lines of advancing health research around the world. Each and every day, we are doing this in Canada. And we are determined to stay there. We are determined to ensure that we win those challenges for those essential research contracts and mandates that come globally. We are committed to working with partners in health innovation to demonstrate the value of delivering the right medicine to the right person at the right time. And as I look around the room today, I see people who expect us to keep these commitments and more. Like millions of Canadians and their families, many of us are living in hope that we will find ways to defeat those stubborn cancers, halt the relentless march of Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, bring light to those living with mental illness, or help those dealing with serious chronic pain. You have our word. You have my word. We will carry on, but make no mistake about it. The public policies that we set today will either encourage innovation or it won't. It'll either attract innovation and investment to Canada or it'll push it away. It'll either get us to move forward or it'll hold us back. Status quo is not an option. To deliver on our expectations and our commitment, we must improve our protections for health innovation in Canada. Those breakthrough therapies that I talked about, those save lives, those thousands of jobs depend on it. I'm inviting each and every one of you to join us. Thousands of individuals and organizations have already voiced their support for CETA. In fact, Nanos did a poll last year, and well over 80% of Canadians support equal IP between Canada and the EU. So if you believe in this, now is the time to let our government know. I'm asking you to do whatever it feels like to let your member know that CETA matters to you. Prime Minister Mulroney told a story one time. It was the only manifestation, the only demonstration that was on the Hill in Ottawa for a law. that happened back in the 1986. I won't go there, but it is part of what, I'm not saying what to do, but we need every voice to move forward on this. And when we are successful, we look ahead, and we can look ahead to the next 25 years of Canadian leadership in life science research. There is well over $100 billion a year we spend annually trying to develop treatment for cancers, infectious diseases, mental illness, Alzheimer's, and chronic pain. But we want to attract a greater share of that investment to Canada, and so that we can continue to do our important work. We want to plan for the day where every Canadian has access to that miracle that will change their lives. For some of you, you know that I'm about to become a grandfather for the first time. So all of a sudden, the next 25 years becomes even more important as for my family and for, I'm sure, of that of yours. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your interest in this subject. Thank you for coming forward today and hearing us out. And I ask you, is if you believe in this vision, if you want to see life sciences advance in this country, stand up and help support it, and help us bring forward an environment in which life science research in Canada can succeed and become a world leader that I know that we can show, that we can do, and that we can excel over the next 25 years. Merci beaucoup, and thank you very much.